what it means is when we have earth, water, fire, air, ether, that, as he's saying, the gross manifestation of earth, we hear in Bhagavad Gita, punyoganda pritivyam cha. Krishna is saying, the original fragrance of the earth, I am that. So it's when material elements achieve the earth stage substantially, that aroma can be generated. But Guru Maharaj, he's making a very unique and interesting point by saying that on the basis of what's in the Antya Lila of Charitamritam, talks about the divine madness of Mahaprabhu and the Radha Bhav, how the fragrance of Krishna's body is driving him mad. And so there, as Prabhu said, we're told sound is the grossest element in the spiritual world. That's why it becomes accessible spiritually. But as it develops higher and becomes more substantial, Norma said the subtlest thing there will be fragrance. And in this instance, the fragrance of Krishna. And that's why that's described in the very end of Antya Lila. But it's something very high, very deep, and I don't feel the inspiration or the qualification to say more about it. See, water allows for taste. You can find this sequence in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, and it might repeat again in the third in different places. But also in parallel, we have, as we mentioned, Dasya Rasa, or Shanta, Dasya. So it's taken that Dasya contains Shanta and Dasya. Sakya has the elements of Shanta, Dasya, and Sakya. Right? Vatsalya has the elements of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya. And Madhura Rasa contains all of them. So, in one place, Srila Guru Maharaj mentions Madhvacharya saying, giving a sequence in this way, saying there's a thing, the guru or devata of that thing, then the guru tattva aspect means Balaram, Nityananda, and then it goes to Radha Govinda Chidlilamritam. This is the way you can trace something back to the central conception of the infinite. But Guru Maharaj says, I say just the opposite. Begins Radha Krishna Chidlilamritam, then to Baladev, then to Guru Devata, then to the thing. So everything here has sprung out of that conception, that plane, that soil. Vaikuntya Pritivyadi Sakala Chenmoy. Also in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it says Janmadyasya Yataha. Like the Vedanta Sutra aphorism, but Janma Adi. We can take it here, it means Janma, etc. Birth, maintenance, annihilation. But Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says, actually Adi here means Adi Rasa, or the Mukhya Rasa, the principal rasa from which everything springs forth, and that is Madhura Rasa. So it contains all the elements of all the others. So just to cap this off, Srila Guru Maharaj is saying, and he can say that, I can only repeat what he said, but that fragrance of Krishna contains all the other things, beginning with that divine sound. In one place, Srimati Radharani is lamenting. It's a divine lamentation where she's saying that I heard the sound of the flute and it captured my whole existence. But then I heard the name of Krishna and that totally captured me. But then I smelled the aroma of Krishna and I was completely captured. He said, this is my situation. It would have been better for it all to be one, but now I'm fragmented into three. So although it's really one, she's saying it's as if I've fragmented myself. So if this world is the perverted reflection of that plane, then that inversion will work in that way. Bhumirapo analo vayu kamano buddhireva cha ahankara ityame bina prakritirastadha. Interestingly, Guru Maharaj uses this sloka to refute Prakriti Sahajaism. It says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. These are my, Bina Prakriti Rasada. These are 8 different types of Prakriti, material energy. What is one of them? Mind, intelligence. These is material energy. So then he says, Apareyam itastvanyam prakriti vidime param, prakritim vidime param. But there's another type of prakriti that's superior to all of this. Jiva bhuta mahabaho yaedam daryate jagat. It's the jiva shakti who's infusing the universe. So Brahma Paramatma Bhagavan can also be thought of as Jiva Paramatma Bhagavan. The reason Guru Maharaj uses this as a refutation of Sahajiyaism is their idea is by reconditioning the mind, reconditioning mundane elements, you can achieve spiritual substance. I compare this to the Stanislavsky acting method, right? Stanislavsky is the guru of acting. And his idea is that through imitation, right, by imitating a character, dressing like them, walking like them, talking like them, by totally absorbing yourself in their identity, that a transition can take place where you have an epiphany and suddenly you've become that character. It's like you're not acting anymore. You've become that character. So it's sometimes known in a shortened form as the method. And those actors were called method actors. Right. But it's acting. And Rupa Goswami warns us in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he said, 2 types of persons who cry taking the name of Krishna or hearing the pastimes of Krishna. One is someone who's by nature sentimental. They cry for all kinds of things. So they also cry about Krishna. He's saying that's not, tears of prem, of divine love. It's sentiment. And he said, and the other one is acting, imitation. They can tell, a director can tell an actor, okay, in this scene, you just break down crying, you're having an emotional, outburst. And they go, okay, give me a second. right? Ready? Camera, 1, 2, 3. Tears start coming. They have a system how to achieve that. Right? And it can make everyone else start crying. Right? But they're acting. Right? So the Prakriti Sahajas think by imitating the behavior of a particular divine spiritual personality, dressing like them, walking like them, talking like them, absorbing yourself in everything that they do, that you'll have an epiphany one day and realize that you've become them, or you've become like them. But Guru Maharaj is saying, all you're doing is reconditioning mundane elements. It's not spiritual. So you have to dissolve the material body. This is a shadow representation of the self. Chayabhas, Chidabhas, a shadow covering of the soul made out of ahankar, intelligence, mind, body, senses, etc. So that has to be dissolved, and then the golden, genuine Swarup, spiritual body from within, can manifest. Where it says, Sarvupadi vinirmuktam tatparatena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchite. Upadi generally means designations, but also in this context it can mean coverings. So there are layers of coverings, acquired prejudice, false ego, etc., covering the soul. Gradually, through the culture of Krishna consciousness, the layers, you become unlayered. The layers vanish, then the Swarup starts to manifest. So it's not reconditioning this mind, like neuro-linguistic programming. You know what that is? So I knew some devotees, they thought, you'll put on headphones and say, listen to Krishna Nam or the Bhagavatam, and then, wake up and enlightened, It's not a question of having music. Right? We have Krishna conscious music, and then wallpaper, and just surrounding yourself with external paraphernalia that will induce some sort of spiritual awakening. Right? Bhaktya sanjatya bhaktya. Only devotion can ignite devotion in another. Right? There's no formula, no method, no step and repeat procedure that will generate spiritual substance. So Guru Maharaj, his point was that no amount of finite can generate the infinite. Right? Matter cannot generate spirit, but spirit can manipulate matter. Spirit can express itself through, but not that by reconfiguring the mundane we can achieve the spiritual. In the Prayers of the Personified Veda, the 87th chapter of the 10th canto, this question occurs, that if we're using the fleshy tongue and the voice box in the body to vibrate sound, Vedas is supposed to be spiritual sound. But how can we vibrate spiritual sound if we're using mundane elements? And this has to do with the nature of what is genuinely spiritual. So the Guru Maharaj like to quote Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Sharanagati, where it says, when the heart is under the influence of Krishna conception, the power of the influence of that conception comes outward from the heart and expresses itself as sound. Not that we make a sound, we say, Hare Krishna, listen to that sound, and then it purifies our hearts. But rather, the heart under the influence, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vaishnav, expresses spiritual sound. And it has to deal with what is the actual original function and purpose of the senses, of sense perception, beyond just navigating the mundane world. Right? What really is the ultimate purpose of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling? In the second canto of the Bhagavatam, when Sukadeva Goswami begins speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, answering his questions, there's a series of verses, 5 or 6 verses, that are very heavy, where he says, if the tongue isn't used for vibrating the holy name of Krishna or glorifying Krishna, it's like the croaking of frogs, like we hear in the ashram when it rains. Have you ever heard the frogs? I mean, how could you not? Unbelievable. Before they cut the grass, it sounds like there's 10,000 of them out there. So they're saying, all of this, whatever it is, if it's not for glorifying Krishna, it's like the tumultuous croaking of frogs, right? Which we've all heard. Then it says, those ears that don't hear are like the ear holes of a snake. Right? They have ear holes, but that's not how they can't hear. They use vibration and their tongue, I think, to sense. It said the eyes that don't behold the divine form of Krishna are like the eyes on a peacock plume. So each one of the senses is denigrated in that way. And we think, this is that sweet boy, 16-year-old boy, Sukadeva Goswami, suddenly saying these very heavy things. Is he cruel? Is he mean? Is it some fanatical brahmachari speaking? Who's just insulting everybody? Rather, we should see this as it's brutal, the description, because of the intensity of feeling in the inverse, that how beautiful is the form of Krishna, how sweet is the sound of Krishna's holy name, the sound of the flute, how soft is the body of Krishna, extraordinary is the fragrance, the scent of Krishna. All of these things so wonderful that someone will say, if you're not using it for that, you've wasted your life. What are they for? What are your senses for? Even in this world, we have people who say things like that. They say, oh, if you haven't done this, you haven't lived. Right? It means it's a particular level of intensity, of feeling, of appreciation. And interestingly, so that's in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Madhya Lila, the second chapter of Madhya Lila, which is a summary synopsis of the whole of the end of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Remember, it's called Shesh Lila, the final pastimes, divided into 2 sections, Madhya and Antya. So this is the summary, because Kaviraj Goswami says, he's arthritic, he can't see, it's a miracle that he's writing, and he thinks, maybe I won't be able to finish this. So I'm going to give you a summary right now, and then hopefully I'll live long enough to finish it. Tell you the details. But there, when it comes to talking about the beauty of Krishna, and this, what does it say? The sound of Krishna's flute, and it says, Bangshi Ganamrita Dam, Bangshi Ganamrita Dam, Lavanyamrita Janmastam. It's quoting Srimati Radharani saying, the face of Krishna is so beautiful. It's Lavanyamrita Janmastan means birthplace. But here she says, Lavanyamritam. The nectar, the creme de la creme of all beauty, is the birthplace of all beauty is the face of Krishna. That's what she's saying. Lavanya Amrita, the nectar of all beauty is born from the face of Krishna, and Bangshi Ganamrita Dham, that face which is, what else comes from that face? The flute song. And so she's praising the beauty of Krishna, the scent of Krishna, the sweetness of his name, the sound of the flute, everything. And then she says, just like Sukadev did before, but now with even greater intensity, and she's saying, if you don't use your senses for seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, feeling, smelling Krishna, why do you have them? So that question about whether or not through the senses you can achieve anything spiritual, at the heart of the matter, actually, that's all they're really meant for. It's not that it's only possible. This is actually their only function. This is the only reason we have them, really, is for this. And in forgetfulness of this, we're using them for other purposes. Shrutva gunan bhuvana sundara shanvatam te nirvisha karna vivaray haratonga tapam rupam drisham drishimatam akilarta labam tvayachuta vishachi chitram apatrapam me. The Queen Rukmini. Look, even in this world, when you deal with romantic love, people will meet someone and they'll say, I have always and only loved you. And they say, you mean, did you say that to your ex-girlfriend? Mm-hmm. They'll say, I have always and only loved you. I only existed in anticipation of meeting you. Now that I've met you, my life has meaning. I don't know how I existed before I met you. I mean, I'm not actually mocking these things. Well, a little bit, but no. No, but my point is, we say that and we mean it and we believe it. And let's not get into like how often it turns out to go otherwise, South Pole. But it's a real, that's what we want. Is that person that you meet who coming in connection with them gives meaning and purpose to your whole existence. Everything before that now suddenly becomes adjusted because you've met them. The love of your heart. And you think, then you're happy that, now I know, I have eyes, ear, everything is focused on the object of love, the beloved. If we can feel that way, and we want to feel that way, if we can feel that way about someone in this world, then magnify that to an infinite degree. Then you can begin to understand what we're dealing with in Krishna conception. The compelling, irresistible, all attractive beauty, seductive charm, sweetness of Krishna. Right? Kandarpa koti kamaniya vishesha shobham. So Rukmini saying, Shrutva gunan bhuvana sundara shanvatam te. Hearing about you, nama rupa, From sound, the form comes. Remember, back to the beginning? Sound, then form, quality. So from sound, your form came to me. And now I can understand you're the most beautiful thing in the world. That's Bhuvana Sundar. Bhuvana Sundara Srinvatam. And now I know why we have ears. The reason we have ears is to hear about you, hear your holy name, etc. Now it all makes sense. Nirvisha karna vivarai haratanga tapam. And now all my suffering is vanished. Rupam vrisham drishimatam akilarta labham. And seeing your divine form, akila arta labham, means now I've got everything. This is parallels the Samadhi sloka in Bhagavad Gita. It says, Yam labdva chapram labham manyate nadikam tataha. When you reach this stage, think that there's nothing greater than this. You've got everything. Yasmin vigyate sarvam eva vigyatam bhavati. So Guru Maharaj says, try for that one thing, quoting the Upanishads. Try for that one thing, upon getting which you get everything. Try to know that one thing, upon knowing which everything is known. This is Krishna consciousness, the pursuit of Krishna conception. Rupam disham dishimatam akilarta labham tvayachyuta vishati chitram apatrapam me. So Rukmini says, so shamelessly, in the presence of such beauty, how can you hoitukiya pratyata, irresistible. As he says, shamelessly, I'm just inviting you, demanding that you kidnap me. And we can take it that, surrounded by karmic circumstance, if we're fortunate, we'll come to the position of realizing and expressing the aspiration that Krishna kidnap us. We'll say, how are you going to become Krishna conscious? By inviting Krishna to kidnap you. Otherwise, karmic forces, they're saying, you owe me, you owe me. You don't even remember, but you owe me. There's things you did before, you don't even remember. I've come to collect, but I don't understand why. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But shouldn't I have to remember? No. Like the drunken driver who wakes up in jail, goes, why am I here? And they go, oh, you killed 3 people. I don't remember. Oh, okay, then you can go. No. No, I say, it doesn't matter whether you remember or not. We do. Hare Krishna. Munendra Mohan, Prabhu in Italy, our leader there, along with Krishna Kanta Didi, he's telling me when he was initiated, generally at that time, previously in ISKCON, that would be the time when they say, you would recite the 4 regulative principles, or awareness of them. But things shifted so much. He said that when he was initiated, Gurudev turned, and this was a time where he'd say, don't do this. He said, Gurudev turned him and said, don't kill anybody. I'm like, yes, sir. Don't kill anyone. Can you do that? I'll try. Hare Krishna. Ahimsa sarva bhutani. But the gopis say, Krishna is killing all these women with his beauty. Hare Krishna.